Hi guys, welcome to our book club. Today will be the third session for our experts level. Currently we are reading The Girl Who Reads on the Metro, a book written by a French author called Christine Fleury. And this video will cover from chapter 11 to chapter 15. So let's just start. As I told you in the introduction of this video, guys, today we will cover from chapter 11 to chapter 15, but let's just remember very quickly what happened in chapter number 10. So as you may know, I am already sharing my screen, and here you have, like the last page of chapter number 10, where we have Juliette and a random guy, an unknown guy on the metro having a conversation. And remember that she has a very, very thick book on her lap. She is on the metro, and then a random guy approaches her, and he started, a conversation by saying like, "Hey, are you going to read all that book? It's very thick. Do you belong to a secta, or what are you reading for?" And she said like, "No, nothing like that. Do you want it?" And the guy, started being a little bit insecure. He is like, no, thank you. But Juliet says like, here you have it. It's for free. Nothing in exchange. So keep it. And as soon as she gave it to him, she just went out from the wagon, and the metro just left. So we have that last scene in chapter number 10, and let's just start with chapter number 11. So here you have it. And in chapter number 11, we have a change of scene. So remember that she was on the metro. Now she is on her office with her co-worker, Chloe, and they are having a conversation. So Chloe is a little bit suspicious. She is asking her, like, hey, what do you have, in between? What are you so suspicious? Like, do you have something with those books, right? With all the books that you have in your drawer? Like, is it like a trick? Do you want to increase your sales? Is that? So Juliet is very like, oh no, nothing like that. But she doesn't want to tell her, like the truth, like about books, about the pastor or anything. So here, like we have a very interesting scene because Juliet, as always, she is there, but at some point she is lost in her thoughts. And her thoughts here are just about realizing that Chloe is tired. Now she is wearing a mask. And that, like she doesn't want the same for her in the future. So what Chloe's want is a little bit pathetic. So here you have it, in this part it says, it's talking about Chloe. She was unrecognizable, her nostrils pinched, pale, with two bright stains on her cheekbones as if she hastily applied a blusher in the dark, her fingers dug into the flabby flesh on her arms, her carefully manicured nails making little pram-colored half-moons. Juliet stared at her as if she were a stranger, her mask of prettiness suddenly obliterated by anxiety and resentment. And though she glimpsed her as she would be in 30 years' time, her features indelibly furrowed with bitterness and worry. Ugly, gloomy, pathetic. So Chloe is like this. So when it says that, like in the flabby, her fingers dug into the flabby flesh on her arms, is this. And this will be flabby, like this. And it's, Juliet is paying attention on her nails and everything, and also like in her makeup, that she doesn't look good. And it's like, I don't want that for me. So we have here with this little part that she's about to accept the job. Remember that in previous chapters we know that Juliet is a little bit doubtful regarding the pastor, like this job. So here I think that with this we got it, like she will be. So here is like the ending of the conversation, because Juliet doesn't want to say anything, and Juliet is describing that Chloe return to her desk, and her desk has a decoration on the screen, and this decoration is like some rabbit ears. But the time has passed by, and they are already, like worn. The color is faded, and well, like later on, she's thinking about the books again. Here we have. She believed for some time Craig someday was inside her. Yeah, oh yeah. Here is the total I told you. Chloe returned on her heel and marched over to her desk towards the garland of post-its stuck to the base of her desk light, toward her computer screen with its pink rabbit ears, a present from a customer who had designs on her. She claimed when she put them on, new and stiff candy floss pink, the pink had lost its color. The fabric was dusty now, and the fluffy ears had flopped down over the screen like faded iris leaves, projecting a long shadow. So, like the ears were like this at the beginning, and now they are like, already tired on the screen. So, candy floss, that will be algodón de azúcar. So, it is candy floss pink. So, it's pink, imagine, that pink. And it says that, well, she went to her desk, and then again we have here Juliette looked down at the file open in front of her, a lump in her throat, and she said, like, I don't want this for me. And then she started talking, well, not talking, she started thinking about, love, about a couple that she had when she believed in love and she believed in his words. And then suddenly she became someone different, and the guy was just looking for someone else all the time. So she decided, like, it's not for me. And she's a little bit disappointed about life. But then she said, like, but not everything is negative, We also have that hug, or, like that warm chocolate, or then we have this, and then we have. So she's paying attention to little details. And then she said, like, yes, maybe life is not, like happy all the time, but we have little happy moments, like we have happiness in those little details. For example, books. And well, like she is thinking about books, and then there were books, and she says that little by little she started, like gathering and gathering books, that at some point there are books even in the bathroom. And because of that, like for her it was natural. It was like, oh yes, this new book arrived. Because she used to spend every Sunday, it says, on Sundays, Juliette went to every garage sale because she ached at the sight of those boxes where all books had been chucked carelessly, almost with disdain, and which no one bought. Like, nobody cared about, old books, so they were in boxes and nobody paid attention to them. So it says people came for second-hand clothes, 70s bric-a-brac, and household appliances that were still in working order. They hadn't the slightest interest in books. So everybody was paying attention in whatever but books. So she felt so sorry about that, and that's why she started, like getting them. And one day, she is describing, like this store. And she's describing like, oh, well, the store is small, full of books all everywhere, and all kind of books. And she is, like, looking at them and this, and then suddenly something caught her attention. And the book that caught her attention is this, Vertical Poetry, 13 volume, the bilingual edition, Vertical 1. And like vertical poetry. Vertical poetry will be like Japanese people books, like instead of growing horizontal, it's growing vertically. And she said, like, why is written like this? And she opened it and says, like, why? Like the font, the spaces, all everything is wrong. But she kept, reading. And it says that the poet was Roberto Juarros. And she started reading, oh this, oh that, and she was super into, the book. And then the guy, the owner of the book, says like, lady, your umbrella. And Juliette is like, what happened with my umbrella? Oh yes, your umbrella is dripping. So, you have to be careful. Leave it outside because otherwise the books will, get wet. And she's like, okay, I will do that. And she had, Juarros in her hands. So the Juliet is like, well, I will take this one. And the guy says also like, oh, Juarros. Like, oh, like this author, so many memories. And they start later on talking about books. Like they are books lover. So they start talking about like, oh yes, yes. And at the end, the guy says, okay, can you just let me borrow the book? I have to say goodbye. Juliet says, I understand that part. Say goodbye, and that's it. So then we have, again, one second. Then we have a change of scene. And in the change of scene, we have again Juliet in the office, like with Chloe still there looking at her. And we have here that, okay, but apartments, we have to sell this. And she's talking about positions, about this. And is that what, she wanted? Like, no, she wanted something else, like she is not thinking about just, like her career. She said like, well, probably something else because, like that is not life. And when she was thinking about that, she opened her drawer and she just grabbed the first book because she said it was at the beginning almost, like dropping. And the title was very interesting because the title of the book says The End of Ordinary Times by Florence Delay. So that's cool. And that is the ending of chapter number 11. Then we have chapter number 12. And again, like a change of scene. Now Juliet is with Solomon, and they are having a conversation about, what happened with books. So Chloe arrives and says like, hey, I already gave away 3 books, and I don't know if I did well, but I did it. One to an unknown person, another one to Chloe, and the third one to her boss. And Solomon is like, hey, but what about the weather? What time did you give them away? What about like the clothes of the people? Like they were in black, were they in red, like whatever? And Juliet says like, no, I didn't pay attention on those details. Why are they important? And Solomon says like, okay, don't worry about it. I am taking like notes in this diary. Here I just take notes about the title of the book, the date, probably the time, maybe, like any other detail about the person, like the mood, maybe clothes, maybe, like weather. And, well, I just take notes just in case, like someone needed in the future. So just in case I am not here and, like someone needed. And just saying that is very suspicious. Saying that, Solomon says to Juliet, hey, and you know what? I need to ask you for a favor. And Juliet says like, a favor? Yes, a favor, like you are the only one who can help me with this. Juliet felt a little bit, like, okay, so what do you want me to do? And Solomon asked her to move, like to his house in order to take care of the store and Said because he needed to go outside. go, like far in a trip. And she said like, okay, but is everything okay? And Soliman says like, yeah, don't worry, I will be fine, but no more questions. Do you accept, yes or no? And Juliet said like, okay, yes. We have, like here, Juliet, I'd like to ask you for a favor. So no, here all the conversation about, like the days, the clothes, about the books she gave away, and then the question is like, oh yeah, excellent. Like ask me for selfish reasons. Like I just beg you to come here and to take care of, Said. And it says, like, are you alright? Oh yes, I'll be fine in a few months. But like, I don't want to worry about my daughter, so can you take care of her? And she said like, okay, no more questions, no more questions. Okay. And says like, I will pay you, and also, you have a room just for you and everything. And well, Juliet says, okay, can I see the room? And number 13, it says that 3 weeks later, Juliet moved into her new home. So she said yes. And they were, like remodeling the rooms because they were painting, they were, like doing some cleaning stuff and moreover. And then everybody is painting and they are talking about books because there are books everywhere. Well, not in that room, but now they are talking about books. And it's like, oh yes, remember that looks like El Quijote. Oh no no, like better books from Coelho. No, Paulo Coelho. Oh no no, this. So they are talking about different authors. Like I don't remember all the names of the authors. And suddenly, Said and Soliman, they start like telling poetry. No, not poetry, but like Soliman start saying aloud some lines from a book, and then Juliet says like, I feel something inside, but I cannot be in love because he's not my type, and I mean he's just reading, like I don't know, but I feel cool. So like here we have that this is the lines, the paragraphs, like the little part Soliman is telling. And here you have that Shireni could be a person, but I thought it was something like an expression, and an expression it will be like to the point, like let's go, no trabas, no quejas, vamos, punto. So that is it. And alas, it would be also an expression, and she would be like, I, like it's an expression like, hey, hi, just in order to like express, like a surprise. And well, like here we have like the thought of Juliet that says, here it says, I'm not in love with him, and yet he is going away like Shireen. And all these, the depot, these rooms, this office will seem empty despite Said's voice, her singing, her games, and her toys, which I'll pick up from the steps of the fire escape, despite the passeurs and the book, and despite, oh yeah, because suddenly she kept thinking the scene, and when I told you like, oh, I felt something, it is this. She's not in love, but she's doing something that probably she shouldn't, because she's taking care of another man's daughter, and she is moving to his house and everything, and suddenly she is like, I'm not in love, and like besides this, I will be taking care of a daughter, I will be like a mother, and then like a housemaid, because I need to clean, I need to take care of the business and that. So suddenly she started probably getting anxious, and Soliman noticed it. So he asked him like, hey, are you okay? And Juliet says like, oh yes, yes, like the smell of the pain. I'm just a little bit dizzy. I need to take, like some fresh air. And she is thinking like, what if, like he's a serial killer? What if this? What if that? So she starts thinking about a lot of scenarios. None of them, were good. None of them was good, sorry. And well, at the end she concludes that bad people don't read. It's like, oh yeah, but he couldn't be, a serial killer because serial killers don't read. But serial killers are not gentle. But serial killers are not this. So okay. And then, here we have a conversation between Solomon and Juliette because, like she got outside the room and then Solomon prepared her a tea. So he gave her the tea and they are like, oh, this tea. Oh, yes, it is a spice tea. Oh, yes, like this. Like, oh, it's for calm you down. And uh, 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 and here, like she says, okay, I really don't know if what I am doing is the right thing. I am curious about it, but I also think that, even if I can ask, probably this won't have an answer, so I have to live with it. So that's it. It says, like at the end, but maybe she could learn to live with her questions. So no answers. Is it good? Is it this? Who knows? So that is the end of chapter number 13, and then we start chapter number 14. And here in chapter number 14, Solomon is not there anymore. Solomon is gone. So here we have Juliette in the store. She's cleaning the books. She is trying to reorganize, to clean a little bit, but she said like, this is impossible. There are so many books, so many things, and she cleaned just one part. But like there are a lot, bunches and piles of books that at the end it doesn't seem that she cleaned. And a guy entered to the store asking for Solomon. And well, we have here, and the guy is let me see if I don't spoil you. Well, anyways, like the guy enters to the store asking for Solomon, and Juliette got very nervous and she's like, oh no, Solomon is not here. Like she went outside, but she doesn't know why. She doesn't have information. So this guy says like, weird, Solomon doesn't go outside. And the guy just enters to the store and he says like, okay. And the girl is, she just, like right here. Embarrassed, Juliette started twisting the end of her sleeve. She was wearing a long, very tatty red sweater. She distracted it from the pile that morning because she was in need of comfort. It had been raining non-stop since Solomon had left. Said had a cold and was crotchety. In the courtyard, a pipe had broken, releasing a persisting smell of rotten eggs. When she looked at herself in the little mirror next to the shower, the red sweater had made her feel a bit warmer, but right now it couldn't protect her from her own shyness. So here she is in the store, and then this guy enters to the store, and then like she is very ashamed. No, well, not ashamed, she's embarrassed because she doesn't have information, she doesn't know what to do, and then she starts being overwhelmed because all these cleaning stuff and like these thoughts that she's having because she's overthinking. And it says here that also Said is under the weather. We have a very interesting way of like saying it. It's crotchety. Crotchety, like this word, means just not to be in the mood, to be in a bad mood, and also not to feel really good. Like, I don't know what I have, but I don't feel good. That's crotchety. So, like Said has been under the weather. Probably she had a cold, and also she's like, So she is, like stressed because of that. And on top of that, it says that a pipe had broken. So that means that the sewage, probably el drenaje, a pipe had broken. So it was, like an odor, a bad smell of rotten eggs, huevo podrido. So just imagine. And then, it says that it was raining. So she is a little bit overwhelmed. And then the guy says, like, okay, like, no problem. But this guy is not an unknown person, is the man in the green hat. The man that we know from chapter number 1, who was reading this insects book. Him. So we have him here and says, like, oh yes, like the guy from the metro. And the guy also says, like, oh, I also know you. Do you think you are the only one who pays attention, like to other books from other readers? Like, come on, no. So they, like, they introduce themselves and they start talking about books. And then Juliette start telling this guy, like, you know what, this is overwhelming because I try to clean, I try to reorganize everything, but I cannot find the way. It's like a never ending task. Yeah. And then the guy says, like, well, like, maybe you need to find like a guy. But he also doesn't have he doesn't have an idea about the method, about how to clean, about how to organize, how books are organized. He doesn't know anything. But, well, like it says. Well, I don't hold it against you. By the way, we are never aware of what we conveyed when we describe our symptoms or ailments. And secondly, because there won't be a third point, we know one another very well. Much better, in fact, than you think that you... Sorry. Much better, in fact, than you yourself think. He added, you are not the only person who looks to see what people are reading on the metro. Oh yes, because like I spoiled you, I told you, but she started like telling the guy, oh yes, but I'm so sorry because this is overwhelming and this, like, oh, I'm embarrassed because like I don't know you and you are here just listening to my complaints. And the guy just told her, like, oh no, we know each other because like they are regular on the metro, they are regulars. And then we have chapter number 15. So the name of the guy is Leonidas. That's a very powerful name, I like it. So they start talking about books. They know each other. So like, oh yes. So they start talking about books. And it seems that also the guy is a paseo or something because they are mentioning and they know. And here it says that, well, like Leonidas told Juliette that she needed to explore, to look for that guide, for that book, something, in order to help her, but he didn't know what was it or if that existed. So here we have Juliette exploring the house, and it says, it was a room with bare walls lit by 2 skylights just beneath the ceiling. Let me reading here. The ceiling wider than they were. Just one more time. Yes, it was a room with bare walls lit by 2 skylights just beneath the ceiling, wider than they were tall, which would be partially opened by pulling on a little chain. But the panes were so filthy that the light they let in was only just sufficient to stop Juliette and Leonidas from bumping into each other. Oh yes, because like they start exploring the house. I mean, the guy told Juliette, like, okay, you need to find the guide. You need to like to know the house. And they start exploring a room that Juliette had never entered before, and it says it's dark. So they can see just like enough not to bump with things, maybe not to bump each other into each other, it says. And it says that you know no shelving here, not even those crude bookcases made of fruit crates that Solomon seemed to fond of, just books stacked against the wall, 2, 3, sometimes 4 rows deep. So the center of the room was empty. So here the center was empty, but all around was full of books. And it says, like the fruit crates, so that would be los guacales, las cajas. And so fond of, it will be fanático, like un apasionado, le encantan, le gustan. So here we have that they are looking for a guiding principle, but nobody knows nobody know what they are. And then they start talking about like, well, books have a conscience, because sometimes books, they don't want to be together, especially if their authors, they didn't get along in real life. And we have some examples here. He spoke to okay, some books were frisky horses, not yet broken in, that whisk you off on a mad gallop, breathless, clinging to their manes. Others, boats drifting peacefully on a lake under a full moon. Others, still prisons, because they are describing books that sometimes it's okay, the place is good for them, and sometimes the book probably doesn't feel really comfortable in that place, and that's why it wants to change. So, as I told you, according to, he spoke to her of his favorite authors, of Schiller, who never grew without having put rotten apples in his desk drawer to force himself to work faster, and plunge his feet into a basin of ice water to keep himself awake at night, or Marcel Pagnol, who so passionate about mechanics that he patented a nut and bolt that couldn't be undone, of Gabriel Garcia Marquez, who to survive while he was grinding 100 years of solitude, sold his car, his heater, his blender, and his hair dryer. Grammatical errors in Apollinaire, Balzac, Zola, and Rimbaud, errors which he happily forgave them and even noted with a certain relish. I love your stories, said Juliette at length. It had been dark for some time, Said must be hungry, and she herself felt gnawing pangs in her stomach. So, I'm so sorry, like this time my throat is not cooperating with me. But we have here, like they are in the room with those books, a lot of books, and they are, well, Leonidas is telling Juliette that sometimes books, they don't want to be in that place because it's probably they don't feel comfortable. And he is telling some stories about some authors that because of any reason, like they have their own method. And, well, he was telling some stories, and suddenly Juliette says like, hey, I love your stories, like you know a lot, but I'm hungry. And probably Said is hungry too. And we have the fell knowing pangs. Pangs are dolor, but knowing it will be like retorcijones se revuelve. So that would be when your stomach is like roar, like that would be the pangs. And it says like, but this is excellent, like with those who travel. Oh, sorry. Said must be hungry, and she herself felt gnawing pangs in her stomach. But I can't see anything you may call a guiding principle here. I still don't know where to start. With the writers who make grammatical mistakes? With those who have a hobby, a predisposition to madness? With those who travel, were sedentary, were reclusive? Yeah, because, like even after all those stories, all the books, all the details, no guide, no book, like with instructions. So Juliette says like, I don't know. Even if I have to clean, I don't know how to organize them. Like how? And Let's just see how it finishes. It says, Leonidas chew on the stem of his pipe and shook his head with a sigh. Me neither, to be honest, but it doesn't matter. Go and get some sleep, dear. Tomorrow you may see things in a completely different light. He pondered for a few moments, or not. That's not very encouraging. Nothing is. In life, it's up to us to find encouragement wherever you are, or our enthusiasm, our passion, our whatever you can call it, is able to find it. He patted her cheek indulgently, and you are capable of doing that, I'm certain. So it says, like, okay, you need to go and sleep a little bit. And Juliet says, like, but like, I don't have anything. And tomorrow, even if I sleep, I won't have anything. And Leonidas says, like, yeah, maybe, but remember, like, here everything depends on you. So if you want it, you get it. So that's it. And, well, that is it for chapter number 15. So this time we have very interesting facts in the story, very interesting, like things, for example, that Soliman probably he's sick, maybe he's dying, and that's why probably is trying to train Juliette so she can take his place, maybe, is one of my theories. Or simply he's traveling in order to, like, get more and more and more books. But Juliette, I think that at the end she will just love being a passer. She pays attention on a lot of details. Also, she likes reading. She knows a lot about authors. And then, like, she's a holder. Well, not a holder, maybe a collector. But little by little, I think that without realizing it, her house, it will be like Soliman's house probably in 30 years, as she was describing Chloe's future. Maybe her future will be full of books. And, well, that is it for this time, guys. We are, like, we have read more than half of the book, so feel good about that. And, well, continue having an excellent reading, guys. I will see you this week on Thursday for our third session. And, well, see you later then. Have an excellent reading. Bye.